Hi guys, it's me Skelly Boy, and today I'm making a whole story and OCs about One Piece. And this story will fall in line with the One Piece canon to the best of my ability because I don't know anything that's going to happen in the future. And also, One Piece D&D will be a part of this story as well because I think it just makes the story much cooler and gives me much more options for the story. Oh, and this story takes place in the same point One Piece D&D Marines start. Cool, cool. The story starts off with a young man inside a cage, with many random objects and treasure outside of the cage. Now, you might be wondering how he got into this situation, and I will tell you a how. The young man is named Edward Freeman, a pretty average man in his early 20s. And before he was trapped in this cage, he was a rookie member of a weak pirate crew. And eventually, a very bulky man named Morg went and beat their whole crew easily and captured all of them. Edward inside his cage is bored out of his mind, and yes, even though he was basically a cabin boy in his original crew, he never thought being a pirate would be like this. He always thought pirates would go out on adventures and travel, but he only cleaned up the ship and got beat up. This is clearly not what he expected, so he tries to find a way to escape. And he eventually finds an opportunity when a drunk member of Morg's pirates crew walks up to him, and after he starts taunting Edward about the situation, saying that he's useless and he'll never really count to anything, Edward gets close enough to him to snatch his sword from his drunken form, and he slashes at him, instantly knocking him unconscious. And he grabs the keys to get him out of the cage. Now, he's just a normal guy physically, but he does have experience with some fighting, and a lot of the time his crew would spar with each other, and from time to time he would watch this, so he was able to use a sword with novice level proficiency. Edward sneaks around the ship, starting to take out the drunken pirates one by one, hiding behind barrels and treasure to do so. And all the pirates don't even know because they're too drunk to find him. And eventually, after a while, he beats the whole crew of about 20 normal pirates. And now, it was time to fight Morg. Edward hides behind the chair that Morg was sitting on and stabs him through the chest. Morg immediately wakes up and jumps from his chair, his bulky body turning around to try and find Edward. But Edward got to another hiding space. Edward thinks to himself, "What the hell? What did they feed him as a kid?" Edward eventually moves behind Morg again, and while Morg is in his drunken stupor, he gets stabbed again, but this time in the stomach. Edward's sword doesn't pierce through fully, and he gets backhanded by Morg's humongous hand, sending him flying to the mass. Edward coughs out spit as in the last second he was able to put up his sword to block the attack. Morg, now enraged by the attack, rushes toward him with blinding speed, preparing his fist for another punch. Edward, seeing his fist, barely dodges the attack and slashes at him back, but only able to put a scratch on him. Then Morg punches downward, crushing the wooden floor of the top deck, bringing them both to the bottom deck. The battle continues as Morg's drunken stupor destroys everything around him, but Edward springs around him, taking his openings to scratch at him. But as time goes on, Morg eventually gets tired, and with the gaping wounds in his chest and stomach, he's getting desperate. So he starts to destroy the ship and makes a big dust cloud. And he is sober enough to take the opportunity created from the big dust cloud to punch Edward unexpectedly, sending him flying to a couple of barrels. Edward is in a wooden heap, coughing up blood. Morg walks up to him and says, "Well, well, look at you, little newbie, trying to fight me? How pathetic." Edward is not angry, not scared, not even a little sad. Edward is filled with determination, with all the willpower to survive and become a great pirate. Something like black lightning with a red outline starts to appear around Edward and goes to Morg pretty much instantly, knocking him unconscious. The black lightning starts to disperse, and Edward, still very confused, stands up and stabs Morg in the throat. Now, this is the end of the video, and you guys probably know what happened at the end of the episode. And I promise this to you guys, that he is not gonna be like a broken OC that just defeats all of his enemies easily, no diff. I promise you, he will have his own challenges and his own things he has to deal with. I promise you, they will be people stronger than him. But I also have to explain one more thing. I think you guys saw me delete my Piccolo what if. And the reason why I did that is because I didn't really like the story. And honestly, as time moved on, I didn't even really like Dragon Ball Super as a whole. So I didn't even want to try and do that. So, yeah, that's why I did it. Bye, bye.